Man, I love my team, and I love my team. I would die for my team. I'm about whatever, man. Fuck what they be talking about. Their opinion doesn't count. He the only one's matter. Yeah, we do it how I do it. You know what I'm saying? To do it, I be up all night, all bruising here. And I don't really know who I'ma lose this year. Man, I love my team. I love my team. I would die for it. I'm sorry, you guys didn't hear anything. I hit the damn button. I don't know why it didn't go off. So, hello, it's Artisan MC. Like, share, subscribe when I'm not muted on my side. So, as I was saying, was that I was a little bit headed home, mentally tiring kind of day, just because they're dealing with idiots. Problem for me because I live in this world. Problem. Shout out to Malika, instead of little brother in here. Shout out to Toyota Tutor. Appreciate you coming through. Shout out to Studio. See you in here. So there we go. That's right. So, tyranny of mediocre matrons. I found out today that motherfuckers trying to take out their petty issues through work. And I was reminded today of how many goddamn simps there are in this world that only act because mommy said something. And I felt a little bit some kind of way about that shit. And I felt really disappointed in men. Not necessarily disappointed in women, but disappointed in some men. I had some conversations today that were not necessarily pleasant conversations, but they were conversations that needed to be had nonetheless. And they were revealing in the sense that it told me the level of intelligence and pettiness of some people and the cowardice of a lot of people. Now, why does this bother me? It bothers me because I know should not be done, right? But it is. So I have to deal with it. But part of my frustration with it is because I have to deal with it. I have little patience for incompetence, cowardice, and petty bitch shit, playing to women's feelings. I have very little patience for that shit. I had a whole motherfucker tell me yesterday that I was being rude because I told them to their face they didn't know what they were talking about. And what they did in throwing somebody else under the bus, saying they did not know what they're talking about, when they were correct, was rude. I was being rude because they can't handle the damn truth. Okay. The other thing that was an issue was because at 2 o'clock in the morning on New Year's Day, 2 a.m., New Year's Day, I relayed a message that was relayed to me at 2 in the morning to a tech who was close to deal with in the morning. And because said tech did not deal with it until way later that morning, it came back on me that it was an issue for me, and I had to have a sit down based on somebody else's um, upset about that. Now, when I found out about this sit down yesterday, I addressed it with my supervisor in the room with the acting director. Nobody had anything to say. Two grown men with another grown man had nothing to say. Everybody was hush mouth. Okay. I have this sit down meeting today with my supervisor. What do you think he's bringing up? Who told him to say it? Same people that was hush mouth and don't want to be around because they worried I'm gonna be angry. Oh, like any one of these people have ever seen me angry to know what the fuck it looks like. Now, this may be a pointless stream in a sense because it'll just sound like me bitching. You can write it off as bitching. It's not bitching in a sense to me because this is relaying the experience that black males go through all the time in the workplace. Especially you're in a workplace that's dominated by middle management, overweight white women. And the simps that answer they call. I don't like that. Do something about it. He said something that I didn't like. Do something about it. That kind of shit. That's where it affects black men in the workplace. Just doing your job. Because I'd ask you this out of 365 fucking days, I worked, let's just say conservatively, upwards of 200 on call days. more than that many work orders. Done on time, not late, and completed. Never passed off to anybody. How do I need to have a sit down meeting about one work order one day on New Year's Eve of this week? That triggered a sit down. Really? This is why if you are anywhere in a company structure, corporate structure as a black male, you need to move up. And the up you need to do is you need to figure out a way to get past that mediocre middle management bullshit. Because that's where all the lard asses sit. And those are the people who create downward pressure that push good people out. This is why maybe it's better for people to learn from examples rather than learning from their own personal experience. And that is why this is not just bitching. Now, mind you, there's a couple of things that people always want to use against black males if they want to try to get you out of an organization. Not because you did anything wrong, not because you don't do your job, none of that shit at all. None of it at all. There's three things that they always use. The first one is attitude, that people are afraid of you. Now, technically, that has nothing to do with you. Why? Because you're not in charge of anybody's feelings or their predisposition to be afraid of black men, especially ones that don't act like they're shucking and jiving. Now, it is not your problem, but it is your concern, because if these scary people end up being in any position above you, they will use that as a reason to make a complaint about you. Now, it doesn't mean you need to walk with your head down and hunch your shoulders and try to look smaller than you actually are. No. What it means is you must combat it, confront it, and have it documented. With HR. That's the policy, that's the play, that's what you have to do. As ridiculous as it sounds. As ridiculous as it sounds, it is ridiculous, ultimately. But you have to document it with them. And not some of the time, every fucking time. You have to. It's a pain in the ass. It's tedious, dumb shit that could be resolved if you were working with grown-ups. But since we know most of these people are not, that's what you're going to have to do. Now, the other thing that they'll like to pull out when the attitude part doesn't work, because the attitude part usually is just there to a fallback, right? It's the first thing they can say, right? Like they say something foul to you, you say something back. They call HR and say you have an attitude problem. It's a classic case of throwing rocks and hiding your hand. Now, when they call you into the office about that goofy shit, your legitimate reaction would be the same reaction as getting pulled over for something you didn't do. You could be pissed off, which they will write up as like confirmation that, oh, he does have an attitude. No, being accused of anything of something you didn't do or injustice is upsetting. That's the normal reaction. That's the normal reaction. But they don't expect you to have a normal reaction. They expect you to be, non-reactive, which is why you have to call first. Well, excuse me, leave back there. They want you to be reactive so they can prove their point. If you are non-reactive, it does not prove their point. They can investigate, but there is nothing for them to pull off outside of one person saying, oh, well, he had an attitude. But nobody else has a problem with him, has experienced no attitude. And he didn't have an attitude when we sat down with him. Those people get reactionary, and that's what gets them fucked up. Now, when that doesn't work, they will move on to the second thing. The second thing is they will try to comb through your records. And if they can find anything that they can use, they will use that and try to document that. And the main thing they'll do is tardiness. If you were late 1 minute, they will consider that a tardy. And they will use that. If it has been, at least in California, 4 days in a 30-day period, they will use that as a reason to try to write you up. But they have to go through the process, which is you have to have a verbal first. Then you get 4 more. If it happens 4 more times, you get a sit-down coaching. Tell you, hey, we talked about it before. We gave you a warning. Now here's the coaching. If it happens again, 2 more times, you will get your final. And after that is 1 more time, you out. Now, why do I know this? Not because I've done a bunch of this shit. I've been through it. But I've had to do this as a supervisor. I've had to do this. I've had to give the verbals. I've had to give the warnings. I've had to give the finals. I had to do the terms, the terminations. It's the California, at least what I'm talking about, is the California process. So when I have people trying to use this bullshit on me, through a useful idiot, it's a bit insulting. Because they expected, or they are expecting, the dumb nigga who does not know how this shit works and does not know the process. So in the span of a 2-week period, these motherfuckers want to have a sit down with me to try to document something. Based on some bitch's attitude. Because she has a problem with me now. She got a new favorite. She has tapped some other useful idiots on her behalf to crawl up my ass and throw out some eggshells. They asked me, well, why'd you show up late? And my response was, probably because I was on call the night before and I was tired. Things most likely the reason. Other than I was probably fucking tired. Now, when they really want to get at you for some shit, and it's really on some petty shit, if the person that's doing it is the one who has the issue, they will have everything lined out because they really think they got you. But if they're cowards and they work through other people, the person they get will not be prepared for any question you ask. They cannot address it. They cannot speak to it. They only know what was fed into their mouth to say. They can't address it. They don't know. So all they're doing is reading the script. Says you were late on this day. Well, how late was I? It's 1 minute, 10 minutes, what? They'll not address that. Reason being is there is some leeway of forgiveness, usually like 5 minutes. But if they just want to ding you for being late, they'll totally overlook the 5 minutes grace. So if you getting to, let's say the clock that you have to punch is impeded by a gate, security, they'll completely disregard that shit and never touch on it. This lets you know how much bullshit it is and how petty, retaliatory this shit is. They just try to paper trail you. Now, the third one that they will use when they're just trying to go after you is work performance. Now, it doesn't matter if you are the best employee they have, top performer, all that shit. Your one misstep, they will rush to document. Rush to document. And it doesn't matter how small it is, because everybody makes mistakes. Nobody is perfect. But your ass will have to be. And they will rush to document one little misstep to create paper. This is proof positive how they are actually working against you to try to get you out of it. Attitude, attendance, work performance. That's what they'll use. And usually they'll have help. Now, when I had this sit-down meeting that nobody wanted to speak up about, I heard about 2 of the 3 from somebody who was not even there to witness any of them. But he was fed some lies to say, to sit down with me, to go over this with me, to deliver this bullshit. Because the people who are doing it who knows his bullshit do not have the courage to sit across from me and look at me in my face. All of a sudden, it's not their responsibility now. Why? Because at base, they are afraid. And at second, because they are afraid, they justify the fact that they don't believe any black male needs to be anywhere doing well. Because that they would actually have to respect. And they don't want to have to do that. They're very comfortable with the shucking and jiving, shuffling, can't get it together as Negroes that they see on TV. If you come through and smash that stereotype, they do not know how to take that shit. It destroys the narrative for them. That's why the attitude one is the first one that they try to use. Because that's a stereotype based on their assumptions, not your presentation. What's up, War Ready? With 2 Trev. Studio side. We're supposed to hold out our hat in both hands and not make eye contact and not seem intimidating. Exactly. Here's the funny part, studio. Intimidation is a self-reflection. Intimidation is internal. No one makes you feel intimidated because if you can agree no one controls your feelings, intimidation is a feeling. You have to feel that in yourself. Because just like somebody can tell you, I am not intimidated by you, it is the same way somebody can tell you, I feel intimidated. That is a feeling which I am not in control of another person. Now, I can do things in the hope of being intimidating to somebody, but that would be an action. And you could actually describe that action. What you cannot describe or quantify is someone else's feelings. And that's why they say feeling intimidated. Because it takes it out of the realm of facts into the gray area of emotions. And then switch back to being fact-based when they want to try to use it in a work setting against you. Their feelings against you. And try to justify it with a policy. But there is no action to support it. That's why that's the first one. This is why black men refuse to socialize at work / the job. Exactly, War Ready. Exactly. I have heard in the same 30-day period, I've heard that I can communicate very well and over communicate, and that I don't talk enough. Make that make sense. You want me to speak up more, but you have a problem with what it is I say at the same time. In the same conversation. and ask the same question. Make that make sense. That makes no fucking sense. That's a contradiction. But the reason it doesn't make sense because it's based on some bitch's feelings. And the useful idiot sat up there to actually relay this shit don't make much sense to him either. But that's why he's sent to say that shit. Because what is actually the problem is no one can deal with a black man who actually speaks back to them and will give them that same snarky attitude that they're giving to him and will not accept it from them. That's what they have a problem with. It's control. It's having control over that black male, to have him in some ways in fear of his job. That is textbook in any HR training you will take, textbook hostile workplace. Textbook. Because that's how you create it. You have a problem with the way they interact. You have a problem when they don't interact. You gossip and talk shit about them. And then when they say something to you, you fall out on the fainting couch like, oh my God, oh, he said something to me. And then try to find absolutely any minute, insignificant thing to blow up into a huge ordeal. So now they are supposed to be worried about their job. And now that this is over their head, the invisible sword of Damocles, they now have to shut up and take all the shit you're going to shovel their way. Get what you get and don't throw a fit. And don't say nothing back to me, nigga, when I tell you something. You ain't supposed to talk back. I have anything intelligent to say. Just look at me like I got all the answers when I don't know what the fuck I'm doing. And agree. Yes, sir, boss. Yes, sir. I just be a sitting here looking and shucking and jiving to make sure you don't take my employment from me. Goofy motherfuckers. Yep. Yeah. Pick a struggle. They're just being irrational and creating a difficult work environment. Exactly, Malika. And it's intentional. Two Trill said, motherfuckers at my job saying I break the rules all the time. I ain't even been there 4 months because they want your ass gone. I bet money. I bet money. People saying this shit, not saying it to your face. The other thing is, I bet the people saying it behind your back, probably some of them palm colored folks, or one of these ethnicities that are trying to get a bigger foothold in their company. You in the way, nigga. Because it don't take many of us to make an issue. It only take one. And surprisingly enough, it only takes one black male on the ball. And it upsets the apple cart for everybody, apparently. So that was my shit for today. Part of my shit for the day. The other part of my shit was addressing somebody who lied to me and how certain policy is just being overlooked because folks are approving of what's going on because it ain't me. So as long as it ain't me, they okay with it. Invisible sword of Damocles. Sword of Damocles is basically you cannot do anything right. You have your death impending. Get the fuck out of my car. Where did you come from? Fucking blood. When I open the goddamn window. Basically, it's your death. I think it's from the Bible. You can't make one step either way. That you make one misstep, the sword of Damocles will fall and kill you. That's the position, the trick bag they try to put your ass in some of these companies when you are a black male on the ball. They don't try to find a way that you're doing something. Now, the other way, the fourth way that they try, and usually this happens before the attitude part, or it can happen at the same time as the attitude shit in the beginning, is they won't accuse you specifically, or they'll say stuff has been missing out of the office. And shit will go missing out of the office because it casts that stereotypical eye towards you. The more you're the only one, the more eyes look in your damn direction. Oh, I can't find it. I lost it. Ugh. It was here. I think it was stolen. That is because dumb niggas don't say anything about it. Yeah, that's the only way they operate too, Trev. I told you, you know the strength that you have when you see the size of the force mounted against you. You can understand that way. Because that tells you how serious they taking your ass. You might not even feel like that, but they take it really seriously. When I see the number of people lined up to not sit in anonymity in this fucking meeting, but the number of people who have something to say, it's like 3 or 4 people in concert. Funny, they all tend to be palm colored. Funny how that works out. And since they all have authority, what's the issue with any of them sitting down with me? Cowardice. Because they know they doing some wrong shit. And they don't want to have to deal with me telling them they doing some wrong shit to their fucking face. They'd rather laugh and play and giggle and shit in my fucking face. Fuck you. I don't do that play shit. So yeah, anonymity is they cover. And that's why I tell you guys, living in California, we deal with racism a bit differently than the rest of you guys do in the rest of the country, because at least with you guys in the rest of the country, it's up front. They'll tell you to your fucking face. That's why I can respect that a little bit more. Hey, you better not be in this town after dark. Well, thank you, redneck. I appreciate that. I will get the fuck out of here unless I feel like dealing with a whole bunch of y'all. But in California, it's subversive because they operate in that anonymity and that fake bullshit of smiling in your face. Oh, you're so nice. I really can't stand that nigga. You need to say something to him. I ain't like his attitude. Don't worry about what I did. I just don't like his attitude. That's how it goes down in California. Always behind the scenes, always anonymity. Nobody got nothing to say to your fucking face. It's always subversive behind the scenes. So they can smile and pretend like that ain't them. Right in your face. Oh, I didn't say that. Really? Huh. Because they worried about the smoke. And the smoke ain't even got to be nothing but I know what the fuck you said. And if you have anything else to say it to my face. That can just be it. That's too much for them. Oh, but why your ass ain't there and you don't know it's them, they'll talk for hours. They will have to have a whole private meeting somewhere else just to bitch about you because they don't want you to hear it. Because they don't want you to know they said it. Cowards. So for me, that's why people like that don't need to be in charge. They don't need to be in charge of shit. That's why middle management is clogged. So for me, there is a way to move. But these are the 3 to 4 standard operating procedures for dealing with mediocre motherfuckers. This is what you will deal with. You need to act accordingly. And at every instance, challenge, document, and challenge. So if it ever comes time that you have to actually have a lawsuit against them for this behavior, you can roll out all of this shit and show it to them. And then you can let them say if they're the judge or whoever decide if they're going to deal with that or they're going to disregard it. But at least you know what you're dealing with then. At least you know for sure what the fuck you're dealing with. Because then there ain't all this touchy feely behind the scenes shit. So with that, I'm going to go inside. Thank y'all for showing up and listening to my bullshit. For the ninja watchers who did not respond in the chat, but probably at the workplace, go fuck yourself. And I will catch you guys next time I have something I want to fucking say. Peace.